Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news at 6, where we get you the day's top developing stories. Lots of details coming in from Xiamen City in China on the BRICS summit. All the details of that and the other big stories, but first the headlines. It's a huge boost for India's efforts to fight cross-border terrorism. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets all BRICS member countries to issue declaration naming Pakistan-based terror groups, including Lashkar and Jaish-e-Mohammed and Haqqani network. Prime Minister Modi says BRICS has developed a robust framework for cooperation in a world drifting towards uncertainty. Says countries are working in mission mode to eradicate poverty and social ills. "49 infants die in a Farrukhabad district hospital of Uttar Pradesh in just 1 month. Chief Medical Officer and the Chief Medical Superintendent are sacked. District Magistrate also removed. And in Jammu and Kashmir, 2 terrorists are killed in an encounter with security forces at Sopore in Baramulla district. Pakistani army violates ceasefire in Mankot sector area along the LOC of Poonch. Our top story: India achieved a major diplomatic victory with China at the ongoing BRICS summit. Prime Minister Modi got on board all member countries in the fight against terrorism, and for the first time, the 5-nation grouping issued a declaration naming Pakistan-based terror groups Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Haqqani network. All eyes will now be on the Prime Minister's summit-level talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping tomorrow, their first meeting after the prolonged Doklam standoff ended last month. Akhilesh Sumans reports.
In a significant diplomatic victory for India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was joined by Chinese President Xi Jinping, Russian President Vladimir Putin, Brazilian President Michel Temer and South African President Jacob Zuma in strongly denouncing terrorism. They also named for the first time Pakistan-based terror groups like the Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. In a strongly worded declaration condemning terror, the BRICS nations compared LET and JEM to the Islamic State terror group. Adopted at the end of the 5-nation BRICS plenary, the 43-page Xiamen Declaration stressed the need for an immediate end to the violence in Afghanistan. The statement by the BRICS leaders said, "We strongly condemn terrorist attacks resulting in death to innocent Afghan nationals. We, in this regard, express concern on the security situation in the region and violence caused by the Taliban, ISIL, Al-Qaeda and its affiliates including Eastern Turkestan Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, the Haqqani network, Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, TTP and Hizb ut-Tahrir."
Terrorism is a scourge that has to be addressed collectively by the entire international community. And I think increasingly there is a realization that you cannot have double standards in tackling this scourge.
Although Pakistan was not named in the declaration, it makes a strong reference to the need for states to act against terror. It says, "We deplore all terrorist attacks worldwide, including attacks in BRICS countries, and condemn terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, wherever committed and by whomsoever, and stress that there can be no justification whatsoever for any act of terrorism. We reaffirm that those responsible for committing, organizing or supporting terrorist acts must be held accountable." Getting China to agree on a statement that refers to Pakistan-based terror is significant since it had resisted the move at last year's summit in Goa. According to officials, Prime Minister Modi raised the issue of terrorism strongly at the BRICS summit this time and was joined by other leaders who expressed willingness to fight this menace.
You cannot have good and bad terrorists, and it is a collective action. Members of the BRICS countries have themselves been victims of terrorism. And I would say that what has come out today acknowledges the fact that we must work collectively in handling this.
The BRICS nations also agreed on an India-sponsored comprehensive convention against international terrorism. The consensus statement of the member countries found a prominent place in the joint declaration. However, after being part of such a strongly worded declaration on terrorism and indicting Pakistan-based terror groups, it remains to be seen how China will act on the designation of Jaish chief Masood Azhar as a global terrorist by the UN. Currently, China has put on hold the proposal moved by the US and some other countries at the UN Sanctions Committee.
This would not be very easy for China to speak against Pakistan-sponsored terrorists. But once China has done it, it means it wants greater cooperation with India. Now, India might reciprocate it positively in coming days. Akhilesh Sumans for Rajya television with camera person Shiv Kumar.
Well, after the diffusion of the Doklam standoff last week, both India and China have given positive signals of cooperation in the 9th BRICS summit being held in Xiamen. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, urged all BRICS nations to also be part of the India and France-led International Solar Alliance. Member nations also called for speeding up of the creation of the BRICS Credit Rating Agency to counter the manipulation by Western agencies to distort funding by international lending companies. Here are more details on the 4 agreements signed.
Welcomed on the podium by Chinese President Xi Jinping at the 9th BRICS Summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a strong case for the Indian economy. He listed the strengths of India's digital economy for investors from China and other member countries.
India has also found that technology and digital resources are powerful tools in fighting poverty and corruption. A strong BRICS partnership on innovation and digital economy can help spur growth, promote transparency and support the sustainable development goals.
The Prime Minister also mentioned smart city projects and the growing township opportunities in India. He said renewable energy could be a binding force for cooperation. In this regard, he also invited BRICS members to join the International Solar Alliance.
BRICS countries can work closely with ISA to strengthen the solar energy agenda. Our 5 countries have complementary skills and strength to promote use of renewable and solar energy. The NDP can also establish an effective link with ISA to support such cooperation.
Prime Minister Modi later took part in the Business Council meeting where he called up on member nations to come together for development. He also urged them to take part in the Make in India and Startup India endeavours. Later, Prime Minister Modi met Russian President Vladimir Putin and Brazilian President Michel Temer on issues of bilateral importance. Modi also attended a banquet hosted by Chinese President Xi Jinping for BRICS heads of governments. Akhilesh Sumans report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Akhilesh Sumans, in fact, joining us now from the newsroom for more details on what's developing, of course, in Xiamen at the moment. Akhilesh, thanks so much for joining us. Pakistan-based terror groups being named in that Xiamen declaration, and that's a big win for India.
Yeah, it's really a big win for India because you know that China has been closely cooperating with Pakistan as far as CPEC is concerned, and it was a great concern for China that if it names Pakistan-based terrorist groups, the Pakistan may create troubles for China. But China has really taken a big leap and big step by naming the 2 terrorist groups, and it has not only named the 2 terrorist groups, it also has mentioned the safe havens of terrorism, destroying the safe havens of terrorism, financing the terrorists, and also stopping in the internal affairs of the countries concerned. So I think that China has of late realized that BRICS cannot be successful if India has such grievances for a long time. Because you know that if China and if BRICS has to be successful, if India goes slow, it will be just China plus organization, and China doesn't want, and Russia also, I think, stressed on Chinese to change its stance as far as terrorism is concerned, and that is why China has come on board India's concern, and it was explicitly expressed in the joint statement that is called Xiamen Declaration today.
Absolutely, and this is also paving the way, making it smoother for Prime Minister Modi to hold those summit-level talks with Xi Jinping tomorrow. And, you know, the first that we'll be seeing after that Doklam standoff. So it seems like, you know, both leaders are, of course, trying to ease things through leading up to that big summit talks.
Yeah, really, you have to come to the normal because, see, Doklam is an aberration between India and China. India and China, such things keep happening because sometimes because the border is not delineated. But this time India took a stern stand, and not for its own territory, but India took a stand for the Bhutanese territory, and Bhutan is a small country, and India was a very peaceful stand. And that made China, I think, to understand the gravity of the situation, that it cannot bully a small nation once India is also a big nation present there. So it is a realization of the situation. Had it been just between India and China, situation might have cooled up much earlier. But China was thinking that India is trying to patronize Bhutan, and that was why China was also adamant. But now I think situations have changed, and China is coming to the terms that reality of Asia is not what it wants to be. Reality of Asia is a proper balance between Indian and Chinese influence zones.
Absolutely, and we hope that, of course, the talks that take place tomorrow, something more positive comes out of that too. We'll leave it for the moment. Akhilesh, thank you so much for joining us with those details. We'll keep tracking, of course, developments coming in from the BRICS summit there at Xiamen City in China. But back home, it's another tragedy that struck a UP hospital, this time in Farrukhabad district. In what seems like a repeat of the Gorakhpur incident, 49 newborns lost their lives in 30 days at the Ram Manohar Lohia Government Hospital. An investigation by the city magistrate said that deprivation of oxygen was the cause of most of the deaths. The DM, Chief Medical Officer and the Chief Medical Superintendent of the hospital have now been sacked.
In less than a month after over 70 children died in Gorakhpur state-run hospital, a similar shocker has come from Farrukhabad district of Uttar Pradesh. As many as 49 infants died in the last 30 days at the Ram Manohar Lohia hospital in the district due to lack of oxygen and shortage of medicines. The deaths were reported between July 20th and August 30th in the neonatal ICU and 19 during deliveries. Chief Medical Officer and Chief Medical Superintendent have been sacked. The district magistrate has also been removed. An FIR was registered against the CMO and CMS.
इसमें CMO, CMS और कुछ डॉक्टर्स के खिलाफ है और इसमें 176, 188 और 304 IPC के अंतर्गत मुकदमा कायम है। इसमें जो उनकी जांच आख्या है प्लस जो भी पुलिस को और साक्ष्य मिलेंगे उसके आधार पर कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
That Gorakhpur incident is only a tip of an iceberg. More and more smaller Gorakhpur incidences are occurring every day. The very fact 3 lakh children die before the age of 5 because of diarrhea, it means preventable death should be audited and no preventable death should take place.
The matter came to light after the state government took cognizance of the matter over some local channels' reports on the deaths and directed the district magistrate to conduct a probe. Taking note of the incident, a team comprising the city magistrate and SDM was formed to probe the deaths. The probe found that 30 deaths were due to lack of oxygen.
20 बच्चों की एपिलेक्सिया से मौत का कारण उन्होंने दर्शित किया है। अब एक एसेप्सिया जो है उसका जो है पूरा अर्थ निकल के नहीं आ रहा, क्या ऑक्सीजन की कमी है, क्या और अन्य कोई बीमारी है। तो इस तरह से उनकी नेग्लिजेंस वहाँ की प्रतीत होती है, यही जांच में निकल गया है।
Opposition parties has slammed the Yogi Adityanath-led UP government for the tragedy.
उत्तर प्रदेश के अंदर बच्चे मर रहे हैं, माँ बाप बिल्कुल एक बेचारों की तरह से खड़े हुए हैं। उनकी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है कि उनका भविष्य, उनकी औलाद जिंदा भी रहेगी या नहीं रहेगी, क्योंकि उत्तर प्रदेश आज इलाज को लेकर किसी भी सूरत में संवेदनशील नहीं।
The priorities of the UP government and the BJP at large are different. They are not paying attention to the health of children, the mothers, and the poor marginalized sections of Indian society.
It is so shocking, so tragic, and these deaths can be avoided if the public health system in Uttar Pradesh is properly audited by the government, and particularly after the Gorakhpur tragedies, when hundreds of children literally have died.
Meanwhile, doctors have gone on strike at the Ram Manohar Lohia hospital. The FIR was registered. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, a day after Pakistani army violated ceasefire near Poonch, 2 terrorists were killed in an encounter in Sopore on Monday morning. The dead men are suspected to be part of the Hizbul Mujahideen terror outfit.
2 militants were killed in an encounter in Sopore in North Kashmir on Monday morning. In a joint operation, Police, Indian Army and Central Reserve Police Force personnel cordon off Sopore's Cheke Brath area, receiving intelligence about the presence of the two militants.
मुझे एक करीब खबर मिली थी कि चकबराट के जनरल एरिया में एक बशीर अहमद शाह करके बंदा है, उसके घर में मिलिटेंट्स की प्रेजेंस है। 1 बजे रात को सर्च शुरू की और हम टारगेट हाउस पे सुबह कोई 6 बजे करीब पहुंचे, जहां हमने मिलिटेंट्स को ये बोला कि आप सरेंडर करो। इन स्पाइट ऑफ सरेंडरिंग दे फायर्ड ऑन द पुलिस पार्टी, इट रिजल्टिंग के उसमें एक एनकाउंटर शुरू हुआ और उस एनकाउंटर में 2 डेड बॉडीज हमने रिकवर की हैं।
When the militants opened fire, security forces retaliated, killing both of them. Both militants are believed to be part of Hizbul Mujahideen terror outfit. 2 AK-47 rifles and a INSAS rifle was recovered from the site. Meanwhile, the Pakistani army also violated ceasefire in the Mankot sector area along the line of control of Poonch on Sunday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu is on a 3-day tour of Hyderabad. He started the day by offering prayers at the famous Ganesha Pandal at Khairatabad. Speaking on the occasion, Naidu said that spirituality is one of the major strengths of India. Here's a report.
Vice President Venkaiah Naidu was in Hyderabad on Monday, where he took part in the Ganesha puja function in Khairatabad. The Ganesha idol put up by the Utsava Mandal in the city is one of the tallest in the country. Vice President Naidu joined the priests in performing the puja. He also shared the special significance that the Khairatabad Ganesha has for him, stating that it's a source of great satisfaction for him to offer prayers there after becoming the Vice President. The Utsava Mandali has been performing this puja for the last 62 years. While wishing prosperity to the Telugu states, the Vice President spoke on the urgent need to eliminate hunger and corruption. Sandeep Yash's report for Rajya Sabha Television in Hyderabad.
Former Union Minister and Trinamool Congress MP Sultan Ahmed passed away on Monday after a cardiac arrest at his residence in Kolkata. The 64-year-old MP is survived by his wife and 2 sons. He was elected to the Lok Sabha from Uluberia constituency on a TMC ticket. In fact, Ahmed was a Union Minister of State for Tourism in the UPA 2 government headed by Dr. Manmohan Singh government. He was elected to the West Bengal Assembly twice. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee condoled his death, while Governor Keshari Nath Tripathi also expressed grief at the passing away of Ahmed. And now let's take you through what else made news across the country today in Nationwide. A special court granted bail to industrialist Naveen Jindal and others in a case related to the allocation of a coal block in Madhya Pradesh. Special Judge Bharat Parashar granted the relief on a personal bond of ₹1,00,000 each and a surety of a similar amount. The court has now posted the matter for further hearing on the 31st of October. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath and his 2 deputies, Dinesh Sharma and Keshav Prasad Maurya, along with 2 ministers, Swatantra Deo Singh and Mohsin Raza, will file their nomination papers for the by-polls of the State Legislative Council today. They're required to get elected as MLAs or MLCs by the 19th of September, as none of them is a member of either house. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal is set to take over the water department from Rajendra Pal Gautam, who was allegedly being bypassed by top Delhi Jal Board officials in decision-making. Kejriwal met Gautam at his residence on Sunday and conveyed the decision to him. This will be his first ministerial portfolio since taking over as Chief Minister in February 2015. The family of 17-year-old Anita, who ended her life last week after she was refused admission in a medical college, rejected the compensation of 7 lakh rupees offered by the Tamil Nadu government. Anita was the daughter of Dalit daily wage labourer and failed to get admission to a medical college despite scoring well in the 12th standard exams. She had blamed the NEET exam as the main reason for her tragic decision. The National Green Tribunal today issued a show cause notice to the Delhi government, the East Delhi Municipal Corporation and others over the Ghazipur landfill collapse. 2 persons were killed in the incident. A bench headed by Justice Swatantra Kumar hit the Aam Aadmi Party government and civic bodies for not discharging their statutory obligations. International news, and a second Indian student has died in Houston days after she was rescued from a swollen lake in the U.S. state of Texas, where Hurricane Harvey wreaked havoc. 25-year-old Shalini Singh from Delhi was pursuing master's degree in public health from the Texas A&M University. She was rescued last week from Lake Bryan, where she, along with another Indian student, Nikhil Bhatia, had gone swimming. While Bhatia died in a hospital on the 30th of August, Shalini Singh, who continued to be in a critical condition, was declared dead late last night by doctors. Her younger brother and uncle, who flew from India, were with her at the time of death. She will be cremated in Bryan next week. Now, as international criticism of Aung San Suu Kyi over the treatment of Rohingya Muslims grows, the UN said that 87,000 mostly Rohingya refugees have arrived in Bangladesh since the violence erupted in Myanmar on the 25th of August. Here are more details.
Thousands of the stateless Muslim minority Rohingyas have fled the mainly Buddhist Myanmar, pouring over the border into Bangladesh. Since the latest round of fighting broke out in August 25th, close to 90,000 refugees have entered the country, piling pressure on the already overcrowded camps in Bangladesh. Around 20,000 more are still waiting on the border between Bangladesh and Myanmar's western state of Rakhine, waiting to enter. There has been an outpouring of support for the Rohingyas from across the world.
Saya dan seluruh rakyat Indonesia, kita menyesalkan aksi kekerasan yang terjadi di Rakhine State, Myanmar. Perlu sebuah aksi nyata, bukan hanya pernyataan kecaman-kecaman.
Bölgenin stratejik önemi sebebiyle Myanmar devletini yanlarına almak isteyen güçlerin hiçbiri de bu insanlık suçunu durdurma konusunda caydırıcı adımlar atmıyor.
Meanwhile, Dhaka stepped up border controls after the latest round of violence began 10 days ago, but they have proved to be useless so far. The border guards say the sheer number of Rohingya Muslims trying to enter the country makes it impossible to stop them. However, the truth is Dhaka does not have the resources to house these refugees. The UN says most of the new arrivals are living in the squalid camps, already housing hundreds of thousands of refugees. Many lack shelter from the heavy monsoon rain, and hundreds of new makeshift shelters have sprung up on the outskirts of the sprawling camps as a result. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's take you through some updates from the world of sports in Sports Beat. India beat Sri Lanka by 6 wickets in the 5th and final ODI to win the series 5-0 in Colombo yesterday. The men in blue defeated the Lankans by 6 wickets. By winning all games, India became the first visiting country to inflict a 5-0 defeat on Sri Lanka. Skipper Virat Kohli made an unbeaten 110 and Manish Pandey scored 36 with a 99-run stand for the 3rd wicket with the skipper. Bhuvneshwar Kumar was the highest wicket taker with a tally of 5 for 42. Electing to bat, the hosts were all out for 238 in 49.4 overs. In tennis, Leander Paes and Purav Raja crashed out of the US Open. The 2 Indian players lost to the Russian team of Karen Khachanov and Andrei Rublev 4-6, 6-7. In the mixed doubles, Rohan Bopanna and his Canadian teammate Gabriela Dabrowski made it to the quarterfinals after defeating American-Spanish team of Nicholas Monroe and Maria Sanchez 6-3, 6-4. In the women's doubles, 4th-seeded Indo-Chinese duo of Sania Mirza and Shuai Peng stormed into the last 8 with a 3-setter win over the Romanian-Spanish pair of Sorana Christie and Sarah Tormo. In the other US Open matches, Petra Kvitova beat Wimbledon champion Garbine Muguruza, while Venus Williams beat Carla Suarez Navarro. Kvitova was 4-1 down in the first set before turning it around with strong serves and a powerful forehand, which took the set in the tie-break. Venus Williams beat Carlos Suarez Navarro 6-3, 3-6, 6-1. Lewis Hamilton won the Italian Grand Prix, which sent him to the top of the Formula One World Championship. Hamilton started the race from a record 69th career pole position. Valtteri Bottas then finished second in the race, and Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel finished third, which was 36.3 seconds behind the winner. Hamilton is now 3 points clear of Germany's Vettel with 7 races remaining. That's all we have for you on the news at 6. Coming up next is The Big Picture.